go.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the meeting of the Arts, Parks, Health, and Education and Neighborhoods Committee, and it's now called to order. Today is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022, and the time is 2 o'clock. Mr. City Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Certainly, sir. Councilmember John Lee,
Present.
Councilmember Mike Bonin, Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
Good afternoon here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can you please state the rules and guidelines for those wishing to offer public comment at today's meeting?
Certainly. Members of the public who would like to offer public comment on the items listed on the agenda should call 1-669-254-5252. Again, the number is 1-669-254-5252. And use meeting ID number 161-368-1180. Again, the meeting ID number is 161-368-1180. And then press pound. Press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Once admitted into the meeting, press star 9 to request to speak. When it is your turn to speak, an automated Zoom voice will ask you to press star 6 to unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Kodo, can you please begin public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For callers that wish to speak on an item or general public comment, please press star 9 on your device to request to speak. Callers will have 1 minute to speak on general public comment and a maximum of 2 minutes to speak on agenda items. Please keep comments on topic and under the purview of this committee. If you do not do so, you will receive one warning from either the city attorney or the chair. If you do not immediately get back on topic, your time will be forfeited and will move on to the next caller. All right, caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Jamie York, speaking as an individual.
Okay, and which items would you like to speak on?
I would like to speak on general public comment and item 7.
Okay, so you have 1 minute for general and 1 minute on the item. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm reading this election report, both the one that was submitted by the city clerk and the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and I sort of feel like there's a missing variable in this. Our budgets in neighborhood councils have been cut twice. If our budgets had kept up with inflation, we would have over $70,000 a year, but now we're down to $32,000. So when we look at the decreased turnout that was present over most of the regions, I have to wonder if that decrease in budget for neighborhood councils had a substantial effect on the ability of neighborhood councils to reach out to their communities, because $8,000, which is how much was cut in the last cut, that's significant. But the other thing is that I also wonder if part of the reason people don't want to get involved with neighborhood councils is because they don't see them as being effective. The city council currently doesn't follow its own rules that it voted in previously that allow for city council, for neighborhood councils who have submitted CISs, time separate from public comment to make comment as in the same way that you would allow a commission. And that was something that was voted on a couple years ago, and it just hasn't been followed. There's also a lot of confusion around the community impact statement process. And honestly, the programs that I have found most helpful with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment in terms of being able to represent my community are also the programs that have been cut. There was a mapping and data program that was excellent, and then it was sort of unceremoniously axed because of staffing. So I kind of sometimes feel like the things that would make neighborhood councils better aren't the things that are focused on, and that we're sort of set up to fail because our budget gets slashed. We can't, reach out to people in the way that the city charter imagines that we should be able to, because our
All right, thank you, caller. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
My name is Sandra Bryant. I would like to speak on item 7.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Please begin.
My name is Sandra Bryant. I'm Executive Director of All People's Community Center, and we are a family source center in the city of LA, providing multiple services to children, youth, and families. We participated with the department in their outreach program for the election. I was a charter member of the South Central Neighborhood Council, so I understand the importance of neighborhood councils. What we did with the department, we hosted informational meetings with our women's group because we were open as an essential provider and had people coming in for services, rental assistance, food distribution. We were able to provide them with information about the upcoming elections. We were able to help them with their applications. In addition to that, we also made phone calls to our members regarding services and were able to
Okay, thank you, caller. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Glenn Bailey, items 7 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes. Please begin now.
Thank you. My name is Glenn Bailey. I'm president of the Northridge East Neighborhood Council. And I'm going to, first of all, indicate the report for the department regarding its outreach for the neighborhood councils was not received by the neighborhood councils until Friday night at 8:46 as part of a newsletter was sent out. I appreciate the department sending it out, but I'm going to ask that you hold the record open for 60 days so that neighborhood councils will have time to review the report, submit their comments. This is a different council file number than we had expected. So I'm asking you to hold the record open for 60 days so that you can receive input from neighborhood councils. Some specific comments on this 15-page report is direct email campaigns were not reported as having been made to the Central, East LA, or for the Valley regions. The postcards that were being distributed at the vaccination site at Dodger Stadium, it took weeks and weeks and weeks to get them out into the Valley regions. Specifically, I'd made arrangements with Northridge Library, and much of the time during the candidate filing and awareness was lost because there was a delay in getting them there. We were told during the town hall meetings that the Recreation and Parks Department would be sending out information. I never saw it, and it's not included in this report. The community-based organizations that were listed as 2 in Council District 12, I had repeatedly asked which community-based organizations that there are, especially locally, and I was never provided those. It seems to me that the neighborhood councils and the local regions should have been provided that information. The department needs to establish an outreach working group now in preparation for the 2023 elections, just as the city clerk is starting up with its working group for its side of conducting.
Okay, thank you, caller. Next caller, please state your name and which items you would like to speak on.
Hi, Mr. Chair. This is Primo Castro, Government Relations Director with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, a coalition member of the Los Angeles Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. We ask that this committee move quickly on passing a comprehensive...
Sorry, Speaker.
Yes.
Which items would you like to speak on?
This is general public comment.
All right, you have 1 minute. Begin now.
Right. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Primo Castro, Government Relations Director with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, a coalition member of the LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. We ask that this committee move quickly on passing a comprehensive ordinance that ends flavored tobacco, including menthol tobacco and e-cigarettes. Please consider having this issue heard at the February 8th committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon, committee members. This is for general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Please begin now.
Good afternoon. My name is Annalisa Carr, Community Advocacy Director with the American Heart Association, also a member of the coalition with the LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. Here today to ask the committee to act quickly on passing a comprehensive ordinance to end the sale of all flavored tobacco products, including menthol tobacco and e-cigarettes. Every day that flavored tobacco products remain on our shelves, more Los Angeles kids could begin a lifetime of nicotine addiction. We urge you to hear this item at the February 8th committee meeting. We cannot continue to delay. Please stand up to big tobacco and protect the health of LA families and youth. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on. Caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Charlie Smith. I'd like to comment on the public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Please begin now.
Thank you. Hello, members of the committee. My name is Charles Smith. I'm a volunteer and a member, I guess, a Los Angeles City resident in Councilman John Lee's district, and a volunteer with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, which is a coalition member of the LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. I'm here today, along with a couple other people, to ask that this committee move quickly on passing a comprehensive ordinance that ends the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol tobacco and e-cigarettes. Please consider having this issue heard at the February 8th committee meeting. We cannot continue to delay. Big tobacco has a lot to gain by delaying laws intended to protect people's health. Please, please, stand up to big tobacco and protect the health of LA families and youth. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, caller. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. This is for general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Please begin now.
My name is Diana Aguirre, Community Impact Director with the American Heart Association. Our organization is a member of the LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco Coalition. I'm here today to ask that this committee act quickly on passing a comprehensive ordinance that is the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol tobacco and e-cigarettes. We ask that you hear this item during the February 8th committee meeting. We can't continue to delay. Big tobacco has a lot to gain by delaying laws intended to protect people's health. Please stand up to big tobacco and protect the health of families and youth.
Okay, thank you for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name's Alex. Hi, my name's Alex Winston. I'm here for general public comment.
You have 1 minute. You may begin now.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Alex Winston. I'm with PAVE, who is a national grassroots organization founded by parents in response to the youth vaping epidemic. PAVE is a coalition member of the LA Families Fighting Flavored Tobacco. In 2017, my son started vaping menthol nicotine products at his high school and still does 3 years later. My husband, who was trying to quit, was vaping menthol and died at age 42 of a severe heart arrhythmia with 500 milligrams of levels of nicotine in his system that was unregulated, leaving me as a single mother of 4 kids. Please consider having a comprehensive ordinance that ends the sale of flavored tobacco, including menthol and e-cigarette products, at the February 8th committee meeting. We were too late for my son, who is already addicted, and for my husband who is no longer with us. Let's not be too late for the next generation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello? Okay, great.
Yes, we can.
Just general public comment. Yeah, it's Daniel Gus. Regarding
You have 1 minute, sir.
Regarding the tobacco issue, it is inherently racist to just ban flavored tobacco because we know that the African American community smokes the vast majority of the menthol tobacco. So why don't you just ban tobacco in the city? Why don't you just ban it altogether? What reason do you have to not ban a product that, if used correctly, necessarily will kill its users? Don't just ban flavored, ban tobacco. It kills if used properly. Do you see the point? It is racist to only focus on menthol or vaping flavors. Regarding my last 30 seconds here, I think as the Education Committee, you need to have a tip jar at all city council meetings where somebody like Nuri Martinez mispronounces a word. For today, she said instead of crises, the plural of crisis, she called it crises. Now, if the city council president doesn't know how to pronounce the word.
Thank you, caller, for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Hello, this is David Lasher, board member for the Port Ranch Neighborhood Council.
Which items would you like to speak on? Hello, speaker?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, David. It's David Lasher, a board member of the Port Ranch Neighborhood Council, calling you about number 7, item 7.
Number 7? All right.
Yes,
you have 1 minute. You may begin now.
Thank you. The last Port Ranch Neighborhood Council election was badly impacted by a person who committed election fraud by registering to run as a candidate and who also voted using an address that they had absolutely no connection to, had never lived in the house. It's a residential house, no connection at all to. Despite being presented with evidence, information documenting this alleged fraud, which was committed by a former board member, the person of Sherry Darahanian, who'd never lived at the address. There was no, the investigation was, well, she has since resigned, so it's not a problem. There's no investigative methodology between the office of the city clerk and the elections department or done to follow through on this kind of fraud. And it should have been, because the 6th vote getter for 5 seats didn't earn the position, although he lawfully won the 5th seat. The 5th seat was taken by the person who committed fraud, and ultimately was resigned when presented with this information. And it's an ongoing problem where someone at Dunn or the city attorney or the clerk should.
Thank you, caller. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Would go ahead. All right. All items and general public comment.
All right. You have 2 minutes to speak on the items and then 1 on general public comment. You may begin now.
Oh, is John Lee here? Yes, he is. Oh, he's an FBI celebrity. Welcome. Now, number 1, aging and disability. Don't spend any money on old people. They're already old. Spend it on the young people that are productive. Hey, wait a minute. You know, I'm kind of in the senior citizen. Oh, except you, sir. You're a nice person. And the second one, CD4. Wolfgang Puck. Goat Puppet likes Wolfgang Puck. He used to give our friends free pasta over there in Santa Monica before all the homeless fucked it up. Wolfgang Puck is nice. He's a nice guy, yes. So number 2. And then number 3, Jim Gilliam childcare. No, keep the kids at home. Stay home for COVID. Number 4, board and recreation parks. Land use covenants in CD12 Well, let's go to Staffer B. Staffer B, John Lee, what do you think?
I'm just trying to keep out of jail.
All right, we'll oppose number 4. Number 5, Lisa Salazar. We don't need you. We don't want you. Get away from us. Number 6, Broadway Company. Lingram Libraries. You don't need to read, children. Just believe in God, and dope means hope. And number 7, the Neighborhood Council Outreach. She'll be talking about it. And you heard Glenn Bailey. Yes, Glenn Bailey, the largest snitch in the North American continent. He did a good job. Goat Puppet opposes number 7 because Raquel Beltran is a traitor. Now we'll get to the general public comment. How much time do I get?
Yeah, 1
Hello,
minute.
humans? Yes, very good. So, what do we have here today? Let's see if there's any city attorneys on the line. Can you guess who was indicted yesterday? I don't know. Yes, that's right. And all of you at the city attorney's office. And John Lee, when he tries to go to his lawyer at the city attorney's office, they have something in common. Both are being investigated by the FBI or have been targets. Yes, and Joe Buscaino, no on Joe Buscaino for mayor. He's an asshole. How about Mike Bonnet? Yes, he's an asshole too. So again, you're doing nothing for the people. In other words, you're doing what City Hall was built to do. Take your money.
Thank you, caller, for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Hi, this is Ruth. I'd like to speak on 7 and give general public comment.
All right, so you have 1 minute to speak on general public comment and 1 minute on the agenda item. You may begin now.
Thank you. Hi, I'm a ruthless resident of Los Angeles. I'm unhoused. I'm involved with my neighborhood council, which I was able to do since the pandemic, put the meetings on Zoom. It's not really safe for like homeless people to be in my neighborhood council's meetings because there's a lot of vigilant people and they go around making jokes about killing us with COVID and it's not really like a good or welcoming atmosphere. Even the homeless committee, it's horrible. I think that I told the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners that next door wasn't really a good platform to advertise about the elections if that's the only way they're doing it, because homeless people aren't allowed to be on it. And I think our input is valuable and more outreach needs to be done to us, but not in like a vigilant or like a hater type of way. Yeah, and also I wanted to say that this 4118 that's been displacing us, like we had a sweep in our neighborhood right before Christmas, and since then 2 people have died, like that I know of firsthand because it was near me. Like one died crossing the street, and the other committed suicide in a parking lot. And I just wanted to say that when you displace people that are already displaced, it kills them. Like it increases their chances of dying by like 40% for like 8 months afterwards. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Asad Al-Najjar. I'm making a comment for 6, 7, and general, please.
Okay, you will have 1 minute to speak on general public comment and 2 minutes on the agenda items. Please begin now.
Right, thank you. So to echo on what Glenn Bailey said, I highly recommend that this item, number 7, should go through to the neighborhood councils themselves for more feedback. Personally, from looking at all the elections for all the councils citywide, there was a lot of challenges for people to register online, especially for the elderly or the people who doesn't have computers. So obtaining registration was a challenge, which made the outreach in a way somehow obsolete. Then we had a lot of challenges that the personnel within Empower LA, they're trying their best. However, their best was not enough to get a lot of the people getting involved in the neighborhood council given the COVID-19 epidemic. And hence, we have a lot of the residents unable to participate and do their thing and elect people. At the same time, there was a lot of issues revolving on the document check and the background check, which resulted in a lot of complications citywide. On the same token, city clerk could have used the lists, the mailing list that we had established during the regular elections. However, for one reason, from the LA County, for one reason or another, was not selected, which I recommend that they do since it's there and the database is for reach. And besides that, I highly recommend again that you table this item and await the neighborhood councils. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on. Caller,
Hello,
please
this is
state.
Bernice.
Oh, go ahead.
Hello, this is Bernice Saavedra calling from Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission. I'm the Senior Director of Program Development, and I'm here for item 7.
Okay.
I just want to let you all know.
Sorry, you have 1 minute. Please begin now.
Okay. So I'm here with Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission. We joined the neighborhood council in promoting and engagement for the elections and overall neighborhood council meetings. Hope of the Valley is a provider for homeless services. We currently operate 6 tiny home shelters, 2 congregate shelters, an access center, a navigation center, a winter shelter center, a job center, and a few family shelters also, along with providing recovery housing and working with our local SPA lead in partnering for permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing. So we decided to partner with the department to just try to give voice to the homeless population within our shelters and all the people experiencing homelessness that we provide services for. We really wanted to see if their voice could be included and just promoted, and for them to have space to speak on how they're experiencing services in the city. And so how we went about that to increase.
Thank you, speaker. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
No, I'm just listening.
Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on. Next caller, please state your name and which items you'd like to speak on.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Cynthia Romo. I'm from Ultimate Health Services. I'll be speaking on item number 7.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Please begin now.
Perfect. Hi, Ultimate, we're a federally qualified health center, and we've actually partnered with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment in the 2020-2021 Neighborhood Council elections. And we actually did various forms of outreach partnering with this department, including social media geo-targeting, boosting, using our clinics as informational hubs for our patients, staff, and community members. In addition, we've done engaging our staff, which is 3,500 individuals, and informed our patients, which we serve about 400,000 in LA County and Orange County. So of course, we focused in the city of LA and in our service areas. We also developed leadership training and training community members regarding the neighborhood council elections, how to participate, how to request ballots, and ballot submission. And again, the most successful is the social media platforms and that geo-targeting, which was above 100,000 impressions in our community. So again, I'd say a big thank you to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment and to the team for allowing us this wonderful partnership in implementing our civic engagement model in our communities to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Mr. Chair, I don't see any other requests.
Thank you, Mr. Cotto. Councilmember Buscaino, I'd like to take items 1, 2, 3, 6 on consent, and also the add number 5 if you're comfortable with it. That is the appointment of Miss Lisa Salazar, who's unable to make our meeting, had to be out of town today, but my staff had a chance to talk to her, and I feel comfortable moving that forward. Are you okay with those items going?
I'm okay as well. I'll move those items, Mr. Chair.
All right, Mr. Clerk, can you call the roll on those items?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Mike Bonin. Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
Aye.
All the item passes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can we hear item number 4 now? Can you read that into the record?
Certainly, sir. Item number 4 is the Board of Recreation and Parks Commissioners Report relative to the Land Use Covenant and Agreement, environmental restriction between the California Department of Toxic Substances Control and the Department of Recreation and Parks.
Thank you. Is there someone from Rec and Parks that can answer just one question for me?
Hi, Councilmember. You have Darrell Ford from Recreation and Parks. We'll be able to answer any questions you may have.
Hello, Mr. Ford. My question was, I know obviously this being located in my district has been going on a while. Do you know how much longer there'll be ongoing costs to the city as far as like DTSC's oversight?
This is a easement will be in perpetuity. So we're going to have annual costs of DTSC ongoing for this project. So there's going to be an annual cost every year going forth for this.
Just to make sure that there's no lead on the site, or?
Well, essentially, so just to make sure we're in compliance with what we agreed to and the remediation plan we did with DTSC. So there's an annual report that we will do for them every year going forward. And every 5 years is sort of another report that's done. But essentially, because of the work that was done here and the easements or this covenants in perpetuity, we will be responsible for a report every year. Obviously, this is a park property, so we anticipate having it as park in perpetuity, but there will be ongoing costs.
I see. So it's just for like an inspection to make sure that we're doing what we agreed to be doing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Councilmember Buscaino, any questions on this item?
Good, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Clerk, can you call the roll on this item?
Certainly, sir. Councilmember John Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Mike Bonin. Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
Aye.
The item passes, sir.
Great. Mr. Villanueva, I think we have number 7, if you can read that into the record.
Certainly, sir. Item number 7 is the City Clerk and Department of Neighborhood Empowerment reports relative to the Neighborhood Council 2021 Election Outreach Update. This item is also referred to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Is there someone here from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment that can speak to this item, or from the City Clerk's office?
Good afternoon, Councilman. This is Sofia Anguiano with the Office of the City Clerk.
Number 7 is the City Clerk and Department of Neighborhood Empowerment report relative to the neighborhood.
Okay, is there someone from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment that also can speak to this report?
This is Tom Soon, Director of Engagement and Awareness with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I'm joined by the Public Information Officer, Anne-Marie Holman, and our General Manager, Raquel Beltran, will be joining us shortly. Thank you, Councilman.
Can one of you explain to us, what's before us today? And the results from the report?
Certainly, Council Member. This is again Sofia Anguiano with the Office of the City Clerk. So the report submitted to this committee basically summarizes the elections at which we conducted this past spring through summer of 2021, where we had to resort to conducting an all vote by mail election as a result of the pandemic. Overall, we would say that there is definitely room for improvement. However, we did see an increase in candidates to the neighborhood council system by close to 5%. In total, we were able to mail close to 20,000 vote by mail packets to stakeholders. We did experience some concerns from our stakeholders regarding the accessibility to our online voter registration program. As a result, we were able to um, translate the paper voter registration application into 9 languages. We distributed the applications to over 50 service providers so that we were able to provide those to stakeholders who did not have access to the internet or needed a non-English version of the application. We partnered with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment to ensure that we provided inclusivity to as many constituents as we could for the upcoming 2023 Neighborhood Council elections. We are proposing to host both app poll and vote by mail elections, as we received a lot of comments from our stakeholders that they really enjoyed the expanded accessibility to voting through the vote by mail process. However, we do understand that there is a need to continue hosting app poll elections. So we hope to be able to provide that in future elections.
So
And I'm available.
Do we know
I'm
if we
available.
vote by mail, did we have more ballots cast?
So we actually so I'm just kind of referring and comparing to the previous 2019 election. So while we issued more applications and ballot packets, we did experience a decrease in voter turnout. It was a small decrease. It was about a 6% decrease. We can't necessarily explain what the issue was because we did mail those packets. You know, I don't know if there was a delay in mail or if they, some stakeholders maybe just never got around to voting and mailing that packet back to us.
Was there any portion of the vote by mails that we received that we had any issues with as far as disqualifying any of the mailed in ballots?
And I'm kind of just answering this off the top of my head. I can't say that staff mentioned that as being a concern. For the most part, if they were mailed a packet, it's because they qualified.
Gotcha. Okay. And so you said earlier that we're planning on doing both vote by mail and in person. I mean, seeing as how the world is, with the situation we're in now, I assume that we might be just possibly all vote by mail system. So for the most part, you felt like some of the issues that I heard during it was just the qualifying as a stakeholder. Are some of those issues been brought up to you, and have we kind of looked into how we're going to address that in the future?
Absolutely. Historically, Councilman, that has been a concern from the stakeholders. However, we uphold the bylaws of each individual neighborhood council, and more than half require documentation. Because of the complexity of the qualifications to as a stakeholder, we try to work with stakeholders and both candidates because that's not usually a way you traditionally qualify in a municipal or state election. For example, if you want to vote in the renter's ballot, you have to not only prove that you're eligible by being 18 or above, but you also have to prove you're a renter. So it's a daunting process. We're constantly working with the neighborhood councils, with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, as well as neighborhood councils and stakeholders to try to streamline that process so that it's a little more clear to stakeholders on what documentation they need to qualify.
Okay. Councilmember Buscaino, do you have any questions regarding this item? Okay. I see Ms. Beltran has joined us. Beltran, is there anything you'd like to add to what we've already heard regarding the report?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, members of the committee. I certainly wasn't here for Ms. Anguiano's report. I'd like to just give you an overview of our report, if that may be permitted, Chairman.
Please.
Okay, thank you so much. And good afternoon. And I'd like to thank all of you for giving us this opportunity to present our report on the 2021 Neighborhood Council elections. Our report provides a considerable amount of information. It includes an overview of the evolution of the development of the department's election strategy plan and how it was used, our challenges, and also our lessons learned in this experience. Of the 99 certified neighborhood councils in the system, 91 held elections this year. Three neighborhood council system, uh, three neighborhood councils embrace the selection process and don't have neighborhood council elections, and as do others. The difference in votes between the 2019 and the 2021 election was 1,460. To us, that is significant, particularly because we were considering it to be optimal if we could break even with 2019 in this all vote by mail process, and we'll explain a little bit more further. It was a complicated and difficult election, but thanks to the support of the city council, you and your colleagues, and also to the office of the city clerk, actually $450,000 was awarded to this department to conduct awareness and engagement. That money became available because the changes of the office of the city clerk as it relates to the November election, where it moved into an all vote by mail election. And you'll see in our lessons learned that there were many areas of improvement that will be important to consider for 22 and 23. Our decisions were data-driven. They were based on one-on-one meetings, regional meetings. Our Neighborhood Council Homeless Alliance provided guidance on the best way to approach and engage unhoused neighbors. 1,000 candidates enrolled in the 9 virtual candidate information sessions this season, by far one of our most successful experiences. The ESP, the Election Strategy Plan, was creative, grounded in election and community-based best practices. Resources were invested highly in community-based partners. There were 5 components in our ESP: general awareness, candidate recruitment and candidate application, voter applications and engagement, mail ballot return and engagement, and election day voting. And we have a video that kind of shows our highlights that, if it's possible, will be played as I continue. Our paid and organic press and media involved mainstream and community level streams and outlets. Our direct mail campaigns were used to recruit prospective candidates. Social media ads played an important role in our efforts to micro-target communities needing additional awareness and engagement. 900,000 unique Facebook viewers, 250,000 unique Twitter viewers. Matching election messaging to relevant audiences was an important part of this strategy, given the 12 regional timelines and neighborhood council elections. But we didn't rely solely on non-digital engagement strategies. 300,000 postcards in 4 languages were distributed at city vaccination centers. Support from our sister city departments amplified our reach. DWP comes to mind. You and your colleagues played an important role in the ESP. You used our customized election outreach graphics and templates and helped contribute to the successes. Language played an important role. Customizable election templates were made available in English, Spanish, Korean, and traditional Chinese. This saved time and money, not only for you all, but also for the neighborhood councils. We embraced the most effective messaging popularly requested by neighborhood councils, CBO partners, and your offices. But we also had challenges. Allow us for a moment just to share a few. They can be summarized as having a short timeline, staffing limitations, social distance protocols that were fluctuating during the election period, and the digital divide. Timing of when resources were made available and in order to prepare and plan for the election created some handicaps for us. Late timing and the availability of resources affects our production cycle and scheduling. And just to use as an example, elections for 22-23 will start in exactly 9 months. 40% of neighborhood councils will start their election process in November, from November to January. We don't have any resources now to begin preparing and planning for those elections. So we actually need to have a 2-year cycle when it comes to preparing for the elections. There should be a budget that's built into this process like any other jurisdiction has for elections that includes awareness and engagement. The county of Los Angeles Registrar Recorder's Office has a $6 million budget just dedicated to outreach. We're not asking for that, but we're just demonstrating that there's been a split in this process where the city clerks has the funding to do the administration of the election. It's just understood that that's a general fund obligation. There's no revenue tied to being able to offset the cost of elections. We want to be in the same position as it relates to awareness and engagement. And this process that has been embraced since almost 2017 has created a handicap for Dunn in its ability to do so. The timing raised concerns across the United States as it relates to the challenges and concerns nationally around the use of social media as it related to political discourse caused a moratorium in our ability to use social media as a vehicle until the moratorium was lifted, which didn't occur until well after the January 6th insurrection on the Capitol last year. Certainly the size of our budget has been a point of concern. One of the common recommendations from some neighborhood council leaders is they would like to see the city clerk's office just mail ballots to all of the registered voters in the city of Los Angeles, using the city clerk's calculations on what it costs to do something like that. That's $2.5 million, just to give you a sense of that. None of us are asking for that, but we're just offering to you that there are some proposals and strategies that are being presented that do have a financial would require additional financial commitment. There are limitations in our ability to embrace strategies and modes of communication to reach under-resourced communities, and we're working with the city attorney's office to try to overcome those obstacles. For example, we know that a large percentage of Americans surveyed were dependent on their smartphones for internet access. We are not in a position to use SMS messaging at this time unless we change the way in which opt-in language is used by the city clerk's office in order to enable us to be able to do greater awareness and engagement of under-participating and under-resourced populations in the city of Los Angeles. Page 11 of our report lists some of the process points that we think were challenging for voters that we might be able to overcome. One is we've already agreed between our two departments to have one website, one election website to send voters to that would share our information. Having a means for people to be able to track their ballots is one common suggestion by many of the neighborhood council leaders and the residents participating in the process. Lessons learned, we've learned that we did some things right. This ESP element was the right strategy, even with the areas of improvements that are quite necessary. There were 7,000 more people who tried to participate in the neighborhood council election in 2021 as compared with 2019. That's a 32% increase in awareness and engagement. We always knew that the vote by mail process had a particular obstacle and structural barrier, not anything that any of us can control that cannot be changed. And that is to get people to request a ballot so that people like me who are permanent absentee voters have to have explained to me why I've got to fill out another form in order to get a ballot. We knew those things would be obstacles. But although the difference in voter turnout was respectable given the circumstances, there were 9,000 people who requested a ballot. So we overcame that obstacle, but they never mailed their ballot back in. Those are opportunities that we think we want to pursue and is possible if we have the right resources for awareness and engagement. If we had been able to get half of those people to actually mail their ballots back, we would have had 4,500 people more participating in the process as opposed to a deficit of 1,400. Advanced planning would have allowed for us to do that, get the list from the city clerk's office, and to close that gap. We must recognize the variances in engagement between the regions. On page 12 of our report, we bring some of that to your attention. Not all neighborhood councils hold elections every 2 years. Some hold them every 4 years, for example. As a note, if a region had fewer elections due to the lack of candidates, that would have caused that neighborhood council to have a affirmation, then you would have had lower voter turnout. I'm concerned about the increase in the number of neighborhood councils that did not have elections due to board affirmations, where there weren't enough candidates and those individuals just were affirmed into those positions. That is a big concern of mine. It went from 13 in 2019 to 15 in 2021. We don't want to see that as an increasing trend moving forward. But let me talk a little bit about the digital divide. The data that we're seeing in our dashboard, which we included in our report, isn't showing that necessarily there was a lower voter turnout in areas that commonly and are known to have a lower or greater access to the internet, where the digital divide is well known. What the digital divide does do, however, is suggest that getting access to the system, is particularly in a vote by mail environment, it creates a need for different kinds of engagement strategies, different kinds of ways to communicate with people to get them into the system. USC did a study of the variances between Black, Indigenous, and people of color populations in general elections, just already being registered and involved in the process at a lower rate for those populations is part of what contributes to voter turnout in the elections overall. So having a relationship with the communities that surround a neighborhood council that already has an under-participating population is going to be the foundation in order to change the voter turnout. Community-based partners are a big part of that effort, and we invested a large percentage of our dollars that we were grateful to have you provide us in community-based partnerships. That was a good strategy for us. We also did our close last month, our awareness and engagement survey, thanks to the support that you provided. The final results of our report will be shared with you more broadly. We surveyed, were able to get responses from over 8,000 residents of Los Angeles. 6,800 actually completed the survey. This is a survey of how residents are engaging with neighborhood councils and what their awareness is of neighborhood councils. That kind of survey data hasn't been available before, will be very important moving forward. Two highlights we would like to share. 60% of respondents have not participated in the neighborhood council system. Nearly 30% have never even heard of the neighborhood council system. That's the starting point for us in this election process, is that people need to have more information, be aware of neighborhood councils, and that's an engagement and strategy in its own. CBOs are very, very important to that. You're important to that. But then moving them into action and engagement becomes the second part of that process. So we close with that. And we are available to answer questions. We want to thank the community-based partners and the neighborhood council leaders who have taken time to share their feedback with us on what they would like to see moving forward and who have taken time to be a part of this meeting this afternoon. Thank you very, very much. I believe your mic is muted.
I haven't heard that before. Thank you, Ms. Beltran, for being here today and giving us that report. One of the questions that I have now is something that I think we discussed. I know that we were all working very closely together in rolling out the vote by mail system for this last election. Is it true that as far as bylaws go, I know every neighborhood council has their own different bylaws, but as far as requirements to be a stakeholder, does that vary from neighborhood council to neighborhood council, or is it a uniform thing? Because if you're qualifying people, I would assume that then that might be a bit of an issue for the city clerk to then have to then understand this neighborhood council's bylaws as opposed to everyone, or does everyone sort of across the board have the same sort of requirements to be a stakeholder to vote in these elections?
There are substantial variances amongst the neighborhood councils as it relates to stakeholder eligibility. Of the 9,000 individuals that did not mail their ballots back, we found that over 8,000 of them are in neighborhood councils that required, that had a variance in the eligibility. So if neighborhood councils had all at-large positions versus more detailed or more varied eligibility provisions, renters, business, so on and so, those were the ones that had the highest number of ballots that were not returned. So that means that our engagement and strategy around those neighborhood councils in order to ensure that people participate in that process has to be far more targeted.
Okay. Well, thank you. I believe we lost, Mr. Clerk, I believe we lost Councilmember Buscaino. I think he unfortunately had to go somewhere. So, seeing as I'm the only member here today, should we just move this on to council, seeing as there's a note file?
Yes, sir. It will come out as a communication from the chair.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today, Mr. Clerk. Is there anything else on the desk?
The desk is clear, sir.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman.